All right, our top international story. Today in the National Assembly, President Cyril Ramaphosa reiterating that South Africa was fully prepared to play any role in mediating between Russia and Ukraine.
Now, Ukraine's ambassador to South Africa has confirmed that Ramaphosa is officially asked to talk to Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky. Ambassador Lyubov Abravitova says Kyiv has been alerted about this request.
Don't underestimate your beautiful, big and powerful country. Being a member of G20 and member of BRICS, I believe that you have a very strong voice, and what our struggle today shows and what we are protecting is the voice of every country, big and small, is equally important. That will be the one part of the answer. And second part is that if we do recognize the cause of the problem, if we do name this properly as it is, then of course we will be able all together to come to the solution that all of us need and want.
Well, of course, another day is turning into night in war-torn Ukraine. Thousands of Ukrainian refugees still fleeing mainly to Poland. Let's now speak to our reporting team on the ground. Siphamandla Goge joins us now from Krakow. Sipa, thanks so much for joining us. It was just interesting listening to the Ukrainian ambassador to South Africa and also our president saying that they want to reach out to the Ukrainian authorities. He's already in touch with Vladimir Putin to be of any assistance at all in terms of these peace talks. What word is coming from peace talks that we understand are still underway?
It's difficult to say at the moment as to what is the progress report regarding those peace talks. Remember, there is too much mistrust between both parties, that is the Russian Federation as well as Ukraine. But of course, those peace talks are essential in a sense that for you to have the everlasting solution to this war, both sides need to sit down and talk. And earlier on, there were reports that, both sides were making progress in terms of those talks. Well, someone representing the Russian Federation coming out saying, well, it doesn't look like there is much progress based on what has been reported. Also remember, there is too much misinformation and propaganda in this war. It's not only fought on the battlefields, but also when it comes to information and misinformation. There's the kind of, you get a sense that there is too much mistrust. But of course, there will always be an open window for those talks, even though some of them may not be deemed to be official and public talks. But behind the scenes, there are, measures in place that have been put to ensure that at least both parties are talking. As to what is the progress report, I guess we can only wait for the official outcome of those talks. Yeah,
and certainly while we wait, the bombings continue. And of course, so does the flood of refugees, particularly to Poland. I know that a day or so ago they estimated 1.8 million refugees arriving in Poland alone, over 3 million in total to various other countries. At what point are Polish authorities simply not going to be able to cope, not just from a sort of a bed and feeding point of view, but also the financial burden must be extreme?
Indeed, Sally, as I'm trying to check if we can be able to go inside and see the refugees. We are outside one of the centers here. We have been allowed to go inside. Perhaps I'm going to ask my colleague, Joe Komane, to come with me. We are in a city called Krakow. It's the second biggest city here in Poland. This is a shopping center, a shopping complex that has been converted into housing refugees from Ukraine. Earlier on, you said there are more than 1.8 million refugees that have crossed to Poland. Well, let me tell you that actually, based on the statistics that have been released by the United Nations, there are now 1.9 million people that have crossed to Poland from Ukraine, and this is a center whereby some of them are processed, some of them are allocated spaces to live here, and they are given clothing. Remember, you're talking about women and children here, and in terms of the statistics that have been provided by the United Nations, out of the number that is confirmed now to be more than 3 million people, there is also another 2 million that have fled their cities inside Ukraine. They have been internally displaced within the country, and other countries that have accepted refugees, they include the likes of Romania, Republic of Moldova, Hungary, Slovakia, Russian Federation, and Belarus. So here inside this shopping center, you see children, women, and some men who've been lucky to leave Ukraine. They are busy getting clothing here, they are being given shoes and everything, all the essentials that they need. Remember, they would have left their own homes and their country with only taking one small bag with them. They didn't have enough chance and opportunity to pack their clothes. The only thing they could get was just few documents and few clothing items. So here they get processed, they are asked what kind of help they need, and immediately after saying what kind of help they need, then they get taken to a center whereby they will be allocated accommodation. Let us see if we will be able to get to see what is happening on the other side there. You know, we just want to cross and go across so that we'll be able to show you what is happening, Sally. So this is the situation. This is what is currently happening here in Poland.
How awful humanity can be and how terrible things happen and how wars like this are still happening in this day and age. And then we see this extraordinary act of giving and kindness, even though it's putting Polish authorities under incredible pressure.
Indeed, and I guess moving forward, this is what has been the concern for Polish authorities to say after this what happens, because you can give people clothing, you can give them some help, but at the end of the day, the most basic and important thing that they need is shelter and accommodation. And once they are given that shelter and accommodation, and that is where they can at least be integrated and they can feel at home. And remember, some of them, and most of them in fact, are traumatized, you know. They have never been outside the country. Look at it this way. You go to sleep, you are comfortable, you are at home, and the next thing you hear sirens waking you up, warning you that there is danger. You have never been out of South Africa, sadly. You do not know anyone outside the country. You do not speak another language. You only know your local language. And then you find yourself having to flee just so that you can save your life. And most of the people that have left are women and children, because men and those who are above 18, between 18 and 60, they are not allowed to leave. So this is an international banned Polska organization where we are at the moment. It's providing assistance. Look at the baby here. Probably this is a newborn, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not sure whether we can ask how old is the baby there. Is there anyone who can help us with translation just to get to know how old is the baby?
That baby's about...
Sally, I just want to talk to the mother. Hello, how are you? How old is the baby? How old is the baby?
Baby, 6 месяцев.
6 months. 6 months. When did you leave Ukraine and how do you feel about the war?
Когда вы Украину оставили, как вы чувствуете насчет войны? 5 марта. 4-го мы пересекли границу, 4-го на 5-го в ночь.
Что вы думаете об этом, что происходит там? It's horrible what's happening. We'll cross the border.
Нам пришлось уехать.
Что еще раз?
Нас уже бомбили, нам пришлось уехать.
Для всего мира ужасно, это катастрофа, это ужас для детей, для людей.
It's catastrophe what's happening now in Ukraine. We have to force the move from March 5th to cross the border and came here. Like, yes.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for your time. Basically, where are you going to now? Where are you going to
Куда вы
sleep?
едете? Где вы спите? Куда вы сейчас едете?
Нет, мы едем нам дали жилье, знакомое, временно, да, мы живем, жилье у нас есть, а приходится одежду и все такое же доставать.
Дома с одним чемоданом приехали.
We left all our clothes at home. We brought just one suitcase, and now we're staying with our friend's apartment.
Okay.
Temporarily.
Okay, thank you very much for your time. Basically, the lady is saying the baby is 6 months old. They left everything behind. They came with one suitcase and they are relying on their friends to assist them with accommodation as they leave now. Joe Komane will show you. They've been given clothing and after this they leave. The question is, where to some of them do have accommodation and shelter, others do not have that. And this is the plight of many refugees that have made their way to Poland and other countries, by the way, not only Poland, Sunny.
Sipha, I know we're running out of time, but just looking at those little ones, I mean, it is a difficult thing to travel with children, little ones, at the best of times. One can only imagine how very difficult it has been for these women travelling with young babies. But I was thinking also of the older children. Are there provisions being made for schooling for these little ones, or is that something that's likely going to only come through in a month or two?
Well, there are provisions that have been made and that are being made for the ones that need to undertake their schooling. As we see another lady here arriving with the child, of course she will produce the passport and the documentation. She will get asked what she needs and then she will be registered. And the children are being registered. Earlier on, Polish authorities told us that they are working on a database now, because they say the most important thing is that those children who have had their schooling disrupted, they need to be integrated into the Polish system so that they can resume with their school activity and they are not disrupted further. They are also organizing psychological help for them to ensure that at least they are able to cope moving forward. So yes, authorities are putting in place a database and ensuring that at least children will be able to go to school. Those that can afford to work are given employment opportunities, because no one knows how long this war will last for.
That is so very true, and thank you so much for bringing us what exactly is going on in Krakow, looking after those refugees. That's our senior reporter, Siphamandla Goge there.